this is really a story about one simple choice. It's about a man who literally held the future in his hands, not because he was a king or a general, but because he had a fountain pen, some blank paper, and the incredible courage to write a completely different future for thousands of strangers. But to really get the scale of that choice, we have to start with this number, 40,000. Just let that sink in. That's the best estimate of how many descendants are alive today, all because one man, Chiune Sugihara, decided to act. We're talking about entire family trees, 40,000 lives that simply would not exist without this quiet act of defiance. And you know, the only way to truly understand this is through the people he saved. Leo Melamed, he was just a kid when his family got out, all thanks to a visa from Sugihara. And his words, they just cut right to the heart of it. This wasn't about paperwork. It was about one person seeing clearly what needed to be done when the whole world was just lost in chaos and confusion. So I want you to just picture this. It's not a hypothetical. This was the reality staring right at Chiune Sugihara, a Japan's consul in Kaunas, Lithuania. World War II is raging, and outside his consulate are 100 of Jewish refugees. They fled Poland, and now they're trapped their only way out. Okay, so let's rewind. Let's go back to that moment of confusion. It's the summer of 1940. We're in Kaunas, Lithuania, and as war is just tearing Europe apart, this small city has become, well, it's become a trap, a dead end for thousands and thousands of desperate people. I mean, can you imagine waking up to that scene? Not a loud mob, not a riot, but a sea of silent, completely exhausted faces just filling the street outside your home. These were Jewish refugees. They just barely escaped the Nazis in Poland, only to get trapped all over again. They ended up at this specific gate because of a tiny, faint rumor that maybe, and just maybe, the Japanese consul was their last hope on Earth. Now, what's so powerful here is who said this. This isn't from some dry history book. This is the personal memory of Sugihara's wife, Yukiko. She saw it all from her own window. She remembered the looks on their faces, the sheer terror. For the Sugihara family, this wasn't some abstract political problem on the news. It was hundreds of real, terrified human beings standing right on their doorstep. Their situation was, it was beyond desperate. They were caught in a vice. They'd run from the Nazis, and now the Soviets had just taken over Lithuania, trapping them between two totalitarian nightmares. Every other country, every other consulate had slammed its doors shut. They were running out of money, running out of time. The visa Sugihara could give them, it wasn't a ticket to a new life in Japan. It was just a transit visa, a piece of paper that could get them across the Soviet Union. It was the only way out of the trap. The people's only hope is a transit visa through Japan, and Sugihara is the one man who can give it to them now. So, here's the thing you got to understand. Sugihara wasn't some kind of rebel from the start. You know, you can't just throw the rule book out the window, so he does what he's supposed to do. He was a professional diplomat by-the-book kind of guy. So he didn't just start breaking the rules. First, he did his job. He called his bosses and asked for permission. And this is where the real test began, a battle between his duty and his conscience. And this just lays it all out, doesn't it? The choice he had to make was so stark. On one side, you have his career, his orders, and the strict rules. On the other side, you have the faces at his gate. It was brutally simple. Obey his government and condemn them, or defy his government and save them. So he sent a cable to his superiors in Tokyo. He explained the crisis. He requested permission to issue the visas. The reply came back fast, and it was absolute. No, the rules are the rules. But Sugihara didn't give up. He cabled them a second time. He even proposed this clever a little workaround, a loophole involving a Dutch colony called Curaçao. He thought maybe this could work. And again, the answer from Tokyo was just as blunt. No. He tried one last time. His third telegram was basically a plea, making it crystal clear that these were matters of life and death. The response was exactly the same. For the third and final time, the order came back. Do not issue the visas. Okay, let's just pause on that for a second. 3 direct orders from your government, your career, your family safety, your entire future. It's all on the line. I mean, it's a question worth really asking yourself. Faced with that exact choice, what would you have done? In the end, his decision wasn't about diplomacy. It was about his own conscience. So, on the morning of July 31st, 1940, Chiune Sugihara made his choice. He sat down at his desk, and in direct violation of his orders, he picked up his pen and began to write. And this wasn't just a single decision. This was the start of an absolutely frantic month-long marathon against the clock. And this timeline just shows you how intense it was. For almost a month, he was working 18, sometimes 20 hours a day, handwriting every single visa. His hands cramped up so badly that his wife, Yukiko, had to massage them so he could keep going. When the Soviets shut the consulate down, he just moved to his hotel and kept writing. And then there's that final scene. I mean, you can't make this up. As his train is literally pulling out of the station, he's still signing visas and throwing them out the window into the crowd. So what was the final tally? This is the official count, 2,139 documents. But these weren't just pieces of paper. Each one was a tiny, active rebellion. Each one was an entire universe of hope for a family. Because, of course, a single visa often covered an entire family. Those 2,000 or so documents, they translated into the lives of at least 6,000 men, women, and children. 6,000 people who were just given a chance to live. But getting one of these visas for life, as they started calling them, that wasn't the end of the story. Not by a long shot. It was the key that unlocked the first door. The journey that came next was a whole other perilous adventure. This was their path, a grueling, freezing trip all the way across the Soviet Union on the Trans-Siberian Railway. Then taking a ship to Kobe, Japan, where they were safe, at least for a while. From there, they scattered across the globe, Shanghai, the Americas, what was then Palestine, most of them carrying nothing but the clothes on their backs, and that one stamped piece of paper that had saved their lives. So what happened to Sugihara after the war? Well, he paid a heavy price for what he did, and his story was almost completely lost to history, almost. But the people he saved, and the children and grandchildren they raised, they refused to let the world forget the man who chose humanity over orders. He was forced to resign. He was fired, basically. He lived a quiet, humble life for decades, never talking about what he'd done. But then, in 1968, a survivor he'd saved, who was now an Israeli diplomat, finally managed to track him down. That one moment started a chain reaction that brought his story out of the shadows, leading to 1985, when Israel's Holocaust memorial, Yad Vashem, gave him its highest honor, righteous among the nations. In the end, the best way to understand why he did it is to just listen to the man himself. When someone asked him late in his life why he risked everything, this was his simple answer. Some laws are written by governments, but other higher laws are written on the human heart. His story is just this incredible reminder that history isn't only made by armies and kings, but sometimes by the moral clarity of one person with a pen and the courage to do the right thing. It wasn't about titles or governments or nations. It was about a man's name, a man's hands, a man's decision. And because of those hands, because of that single decision, 40,000 people are alive in the world today who would not otherwise be here. 40,000 people carrying forward names and laughter and ideas and love and children of their own. All of it beginning with a single man sitting at a desk in a city most of us have never even heard of, just writing. So, if you felt something today, if this story landed somewhere inside you, please share it, and not for us, not for the channel, but because stories like this, they deserve to be carried further than the places they're told. Chiune Sugihara never sought attention. He didn't want to be remembered as some kind of extraordinary hero, but ordinary people really need to hear about other ordinary people who did extraordinary things, because that's what keeps the door of possibility open for all of us. That's what reminds us that the choice to act, the choice to help is always there. Thank you for being here with us today. There are so many more stories like this, waiting for you on Beautiful Voices. Stay with us.